welcome everyone to a roundtable. Now, this is the first time I'm actually doing this today. I'm author Dr. Melissa Caudle, and I have 5 books, and I have 5 wonderful narrators that are doing the audiobook. And I just thought it'd be a good idea if I brought some of them together, and I do have 3 of the best with me today. We'll catch up with the other 2 at a later time. But people, hold on to your seats because you have got to meet these people who bring the voices of my characters alive. First up, let's introduce our host that is actually hosting our conference for us, Mr. Timothy Burke. Hi, Timothy.
Hello, Melissa. How are you doing today?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for putting this all together for us. And just for those that don't know, Timothy is, we're co-partnering on a lot of things. Number one, we have, he's narrating my book, How to Launch and Market a Book, a 6-month countdown. But we're also writing another book together on a similar lines for audio narrators. And he's going to be narrating my other children's book that's coming out for children's scary stories around the campfire. So that's Timothy. So thank you, Timothy. And I will go to Miss Chris Nesney next and say hello, Chris.
Hello.
That's Chris. And she is fabulous, fabulous, fabulous voice. And she is narrating my new romance novel called Secret Romances, A Forbidden Thirst for Love.
Oh, yes.
And she brings some really good strength to my main character, Miss Angela Whitford. And when she has to be, look how sweet you look. But you don't sound like that when you're doing Angela. Anyway, she's fabulous. She's got works of her own. I'm going to let them talk about some of their other books here in a little bit. And now I want to bring in the fabulous Miss Rebecca Roberts. And say, hi, Rebecca. And Rebecca is also fabulous. And she is doing my latest novel that came out about a week ago called Adam, the Beginning in Life. Now, this is a challenging one for her, I think, not because she's not good at it, but it's challenging because there's a short film out of it. So when I hear characters, I'm so used to the actual characters that are portraying them, but she nails them. So no concern there. She's just as fabulous. Say hello, Rebecca.
Hello.
There's Rebecca. And she has tons of experience. All these people do. So this is great. So with that said, I'm going to take a little breather. And since I introduced Tim first, we'll go backwards. We'll stay on you, Rebecca. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the audiobook world?
That's a question that every time I'm asked it, my answer is slightly different because I'm not really sure how it happened. It was one of those serendipitous things. I was listening to an audiobook on the way to work. I had a very long commute, 2 hours to and from for a sales job where if I made a sale, great. If I didn't, I just wasted 4 hours of my day. So I was listening to one about marriage and relationships, and it was a stressful time in my life. And as I was listening, I thought, oh my God, this is horrible. So for some strange reason, I was thinking about this narrator and what brought her to this point. And I stumbled upon a YouTube video that very same afternoon in a search for something totally different. And I saw Pat Fraley doing an introduction to audiobook narration. It was a YouTube video. And it just, for some reason, just stuck in me. And within probably 3 days, I had bought a garbage microphone and auditioned for a title through ACX that was royalty share and got it like that day. So this whole thing happened within a week. And I produced it and narrated it. Of course, it's not something I'll share with many people because of my skill set at the time. But it just took off from there. My first year, I took it kind of slow. I was finishing my bachelor's degree in finance with the full intention of becoming a financier when I graduated. But I was having so much fun and making money, and my husband was so supportive that 4.5, 5 years later, I've got 200 audiobooks done and working with major companies and starting my own little production company. And I don't know how it started, really. It was just...
What's the name of your production company for audiobooks?
Atlantis Audiobooks.
And where do they find you, my dear? Always plug yourself. This is a marketing guru. Where do we find you?
It is in such its infancy stages. I have my website, my domain. I've got 5 kids on the roster, some books in the works, but
Awesome.
You know when I'm ready to kick it.
Okay, we'll do another interview and we'll kick
Absolutely.
it out good.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds
All
good.
right. Yeah. Let's go to Chris. Give me a little bit about your background now and how you got into this wonderful world of audio narration.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Dr. Mel. I actually have been a teacher for many years, and I'm lower L, upper L, and so I read to the kids often. And I love when they're just so engrossed, they're just staring at me and ready for, what's happening next. And I just love how they always were so into everything that I read. And I would do announcements and things like that. And everybody was like, man, you need to get into some kind of announcing or something. And I'm like, well, I love reading. I love doing it. So I don't know. And I happened upon a class that was a community class.
Can you repeat that? You broke up just a little bit. You happened to start there.
Yeah, I stumbled upon a class. It was a community class about, do you want to be an audiobook reader? And I was like, well, I'll pay $35 and see what this is all about. So I went, and she was like, wow, are you sure you haven't done this before? And ultimately, it was a plug for the Such a Voice company to get you to train through them. So thousands of dollars later, I ended up doing training with them, which I don't even know if I needed any of that. I laugh at Rebecca saying, yep, I just auditioned and got it. I probably could have done the same thing.
I'm sure you could have.
Yeah.
Another story.
So I ended up getting my demo through them. So at least I was able to get a demo for my commercial and narration, abilities and such. So that worked out at least through that. And then I had a group that I got together of some of our audiobook people that wanted to bounce ideas off each other and such. And one of those people in my group told me about ACX because they hadn't even mentioned that. And
well,
so,
most people who follow this, they may not even know what ACX is. You want to explain that?
Yeah, that is a company through Amazon, works with Audible and iTunes, and what's the other one? Audible, iTunes,
Google Play, Overdrive.
Yeah, I'm not sure where but in any case, it's a huge resource for people who want to get books narrated and for people who are narrating, looking for books to narrate. So you just go in.
That's how I found all of y'all, was through
ACX.
right.
That was awesome because you just go in and you put in what you're looking for and you see what's there and you audition for them.
And how many books have you done so far?
I've actually done about 6. I've only been going for about a year-ish. Okay. And my first book was a nonfiction book about koi carp and building koi carp ponds. It was just this little booklet thing. It wasn't even an hour long. But I ended up reading it and I turned it into this exciting, like, the author himself was like, wow, you really made that come to life. And he was
carp.
Yeah.
For the carp. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's how I did it. It's just something that I love. I think it's a lot of fun, and I always make weird voices and weird noises, and
no kidding.
Always thinking I'm funny. What did you say?
Kidding.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Jamie, I love your cheer when you do that in Secret Romances. I said, she must have been a cheerleader. I swear she must have been a cheerleader because in that book, and we'll talk about some of the characters in the books here in a little bit. Yeah. But I want to jump over to Timothy real quick.
Yep.
All right, Timothy, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this wonderful world.
Okay. I'm an ex-radio guy. Can you tell?
No.
Yeah, I've got kind of a patchwork career. I started out coming out of college as a musician. Got a bachelor's degree actually in classical organ. Found out that it's a nice thing to have, but it's a horrible way to try and make a living. I then transitioned over into computer support work, spent a number of years doing that. Because of some upheavals at the company I was at the time, I found myself out of a job, and I've had this experience throughout my life. You know, I go into the gas station, I pay for gas, I'm chatting with the person behind the counter, and they go, "Are you on radio? You really ought to be on radio."
Right, it's that golden voice that we hear.
So I figured, you know, let's give it a shot. What have I got to lose? So I went back to school and got a certificate, actually, from a trade school in radio, and then spent a number of years bouncing across the country at various radio stations as a radio news anchor and reporter. The radio business at this time is absolutely insane with all the mergers and whatnot that's going on. Long story short, I found myself unemployed once again. I did not want to have to move again. I'd been dabbling in voiceover and audiobooks for a while. In fact, it's funny that you should talk about such voice, Chris, because I've got my demo through them too. And they did a wonderful job of showing me how to use Pro Tools, but as far as marketing and anything other than their site, they didn't do too much. But so I finally decided, to heck with it, I'm going to go for it. And fortunately at that time, just like Chris was talking about, ACX was really getting going. And now that the technology has advanced to the point that you can produce quality audio at home, you don't have to go to a professional studio anymore. So I did the same thing. I don't even remember what the first book I was doing. And it was a $50 PFH job. And I auditioned for it, and it was this, next day the guy sent me a contract. I'm like, cool. And so I've been.
But the PFH, for people that may not know what that means, is per finished hour.
Yes, it is. We get paid by a rate of being paid by how many hours of actual finished audio you complete.
We lost Rebecca for just a second, but she'll be back.
Yeah.
There you are.
Here. I'm hiding for a moment.
Hey, babe, you're good. But, so, and, I found out I've always loved reading. In fact, I don't even own a television. I have not actually sat down and watched television, and I would say better than 12, 13 years.
No way.
No interest in it whatsoever, but I love to read. And, this has, it's been a godsend for me, just the way everything kind of converged. The vast majority of books that I've done so far are nonfiction books. A lot of beginning narrators who I talk to, who, for some reason I tend to give the illusion that I actually know what the heck I'm doing. And, they say, how do I should take voice acting classes, and how do you do your characters? And there is so much work out there that is non-character based, Well,
my book, the book you're doing for me is non-fiction.
Right, history books and self-help books, and there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I love doing fiction. I have not done much of it, and I have never had voice acting classes. That's another thing on the to-do list. But, if you're looking to get started, don't let that scare you.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
But, just give it a shot. You never know what the heck's going to happen. It doesn't cost much to get up and started. There's a gazillion websites out there that'll tell you how to get going with things. And, if you want to contact me, please feel free. And we're doing a plugging thing that you were talking about, Dr. Mel. My website is called spokenwordcreation.com.
Perfect.
Said with vigor.
Yes.
Spoken
And,
word. Spoken word. No. Chris, where will we find you, sweetheart?
My website is having issues right now. It's chrissays.com, S-E-Z. But yeah, they're having issues, but I'll be there.
Well, you can find me, actually, the easiest way to find me is type in my name, but I do have a website, which is www.drmelcaudle.com. Go figure that. And I have a blog that's www.drmelmessage.com. And that's pretty much the two that I work off of. And people can find me. They can find my books. And a lot of things that people don't know about me, and I'll share this with y'all. I was a screenwriter before I was a novelist. Now, I had a lot of nonfiction books out there about producing film, producing reality shows, because I worked with Sony and Screen Gems for a while, producing things. I worked on The Girls Next Door with the Playmates and the Little People, couple. So I've done a lot of the television stuff because that's a lot of my background. But I decided one day that I was going to try to write my first novel. And actually, Netflix is the one that encouraged me, because I had written 67 episodes of the Keystroke Killer, Transcendence. And so they wanted it in a book form. So at the Keystroke Killer Transcendence, that Scott Ellis, and he's not here with us right now, who is narrating that particular book, is actually the 13 episodes of the first season. So that book will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and so forth on that one. And so that's how I actually got into it. And now that I'm getting more and more novels that that I'm publishing, people say I've developed a style. And that's what I want to kind of talk to y'all about, because if anybody really knows my style right now, it's y'all. And it's because I don't use dialogue tags. Is that a hindrance to y'all as narrators, or is it a help, or what? Go ahead, Rebecca.
I praise the good Lord above for you for not using the tags. Unless you're extremely skilled at it, they become so repetitive and so trite, and he said, she said. However, you do have to be very careful that as the writer that you're using a diction that is different in terms of sentence structure for each person.
Exactly. They have their own character.
It's how they make their sentences work. I tell you what, I have read some beautiful books that when you get to the dialogue of a romance scene, the whole thing just falls apart. It's almost as if you'd rather them not try to use the tags at all, because all of their beautiful descriptive narrative is just discredited.
Right.
I love it. I think it's fantastic, but you do have to make sure that you're able to manipulate your voice and your pacing. So
that's what because and we'll talk about Adam. That's what Rebecca is narrating for me, is Adam, the beginning of life. And basically it's around one main character, Dr. Sandra Bradford, and she's a NASA, astrobiological physicist. And she discovers this microbe in the bottom of Lake Mono that starts morphing. And when I say morphing, into an alien creature, I will tell you that much. But it's more than the shape of water, because it's also got the conspiracy theory with it. But with Bradford, she has to be so strong all the time, but then her weaknesses submerge. And I can actually hear it in your inner voice, or your inner voice.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm like your Bradford to me. No, but I can hear it when you get to her inner voice thoughts. I can feel and hear the vulnerability. So how do you prepare yourself? That's one character, but two portrayals.
I haven't had any training. I just know what comes instinctively to me. And as much as people would advise me to read in advance, I never read in advance. Everything that I record cold. However,
aren't you going to be a surprise when you get to this ending?
But in those particular examples, I'll read through it, and then as I'm realizing, wait a minute, that's inner voice, I will go back and do it. But once I get the patterns, I use facial expressions. So
while you're reading?
While I'm reading. So if I'm reading her external dialogue and it's her, I have a face. And then the moment she goes into inner, I'll change my face it's pretty funny to watch me read. I'll change it pretty drastically to go into and then as I read it, I have a different posture to my body. So it just kind of shifts the whole thing. So yeah, that's how I do it. And if I'm reading a smaller girl,
like Jessica, well, she's a younger woman.
Yeah, I will, like Jessica speaking, and then the younger girl has to smile, and then I'll put a smile on my face. Instead,
you absorb the characters as you're reading them.
yeah, I do physical postures that help. And eventually, as I get into the book and the characters become more embedded in me, I don't have to do that as much. But the first couple of chapters, you'll see me like twerking all over the place.
Oh, this I want to see. Get this up. I want to see one of the Aum scenes.
Oh my God. I'll tell you a secret with that. I actually recorded that. I went to YouTube and listened to probably 7 or 8 versions of it. It's hard to get it without music. And then I sat in my room and laid in my bed away from and recorded it while I was laying in my bed so I could feel like I was really there.
Oh, no.
And then I recorded a couple versions of it and then just cut it in because it's very difficult to go from her words to this play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how I do
it. Quirky little girl, isn't she?
Yeah.
It's Jessica. She's Dr. Bradford's assistant.
I hope she makes it through the whole story.
Well, you'll get there. You'll get there. I can't wait for the ending because you're going to go, what? No, you're going to, it's one of those.